My daughter, I need you to stop what you are doing and stay with me for a moment. Not because something bad is happening, but because something true is about to be said, and truth requires stillness in the one who receives it. Truth received in motion slides off the surface. Truth received in stillness enters the place where change begins. So stay with me, be still. I was in a room where your name was spoken, not by you, by someone who knew you well enough to use your name with familiarity. The way they said it told me everything I needed to know about what was underneath their words. They did not speak your name with softness. They spoke it with the particular weight that comes when someone is trying to explain a problem to someone else. And the problem they were trying to explain was you. I heard every word. I kept every word. And tonight, I am reading it back to you, not to wound you with what they said, but to free you from what it planted. Because that is the part you do not know yet. What was said in that room did not stay in that room. Words spoken out loud about a person carry weight, and that weight travels. It travels through the invisible threads that connect one person to another. And you have been carrying what they said inside you, as though it were your own thought. As though you had arrived at that belief about yourself through your own discernment. You have not. It was handed to you, and tonight I am taking it back. My daughter, before I read the record to you, I need you to understand something about yourself that you have not been able to see clearly. You have known in the part of yourself that you do not always trust, that something was misaligned in this person's presence. Not wrong in an obvious way, not wrong in a way you could point to and name without sounding dramatic, but wrong in the way the air in a room changes when someone enters it who is holding something they have not said. You felt that shift every time. You felt it, and you told yourself you were imagining it. You told yourself you were being oversensitive, or too guarded, or that your discernment was rooted in something old, and not in what was actually happening in front of you. And so you explained away what your spirit was correctly reading. You adjusted yourself in their presence, not dramatically, gradually. You spoke a little smaller when they were around. You pulled certain ideas back before they fully formed into words. You shrank the size of your reaching when they were watching. You told yourself this was appropriate humility, that it was considerate, that you did not want to make them feel left behind, but that was not what it was. What it was accurate perception of a field that had been set against you. Your spirit was reading the room correctly the entire time. You were not too sensitive. You were exactly sensitive enough. And sensitivity, my daughter, is not a flaw. It is a faculty, and yours was giving you true information. Type I felt it in the comments right now, because your body knew before you had language for it, before you had evidence for it, before you had any reason beyond the quiet, persistent sense of something not quite right. Your body knew. And tonight, I am giving you the language. I am giving you the evidence. I am giving you the reason. The friction you felt around this person was not yours to resolve. It was not the signal of something wrong in you. It was the signal of something wrong in them, something they had never told you about, something they may not have had the clarity to fully confess even to themselves. You tried to make the friction go away by being more gentle, more present, more accommodating. And the friction did not go away because it was not caused by anything you were doing. It was caused by something they were holding. The book of Proverbs tells us in chapter 14, verse 30, that envy is rottenness to the bones. The ancient writers understood something that modern people often avoid naming, that jealousy is not a passing emotion. It is a condition. It settles into a person at the level of the skeleton, the deepest structure, and when it is located that deep, it does not show up on the surface as jealousy. It shows up as behavior, as patterns, as the particular shape of how a person moves around the one they envy. You saw the behavior, you saw the patterns, you saw the particular shape. You simply did not know what was underneath it. Until tonight, my daughter, I am going to begin reading the record now. This is the first thing I need you to hear. The closeness was strategic. I do not say that to diminish every warm moment you shared. I say it to give you the full picture, because you cannot be free from what you do not understand. This person got close to you not because you drew them in with love, though love was something you offered abundantly. They got close to you because they needed to understand what you had that they did not. Your presence made them feel something they could not name immediately. There was something in you, something in the way you moved through your life, in the way people responded to you, in the particular quality of your attention and your energy that unsettled something in them. It was not hatred. Hatred would have been simpler. It was something more complicated. It was recognition. They recognized in you something that they wanted and did not know how to reach, and rather than letting that recognition lead them toward their own growth, it led them toward something else. They named it later, in a room you were not in, and the word they used was not admiration. It was threat. That was the first thing spoken in the room about you. Not with violence, not with malice written obviously across the surface, but with the tired, honest, conversational candor that people use when they are finally alone with someone who cannot report back to the person being discussed. They told the truth in that room in a way they never told it to your face. And the truth was that your presence threatened something in them that they had decided was either unachievable or already decided. Your existence as a living, moving, reaching person with visible potential was an ongoing argument against a conclusion they had already drawn about themselves, and they could not afford to lose that argument. So they moved close, not to love you, to manage you. This is difficult to hear, I know. Take a breath with me, take it slowly, let it move all the way through. You are not smaller because this is true. You are not naive because you did not see it. The people who love most generously are the ones who are most vulnerable to this particular kind of closeness, because they extend the benefit of the doubt as an act of love. And there is nothing wrong with that. There is nothing to correct in yourself. What needs to be corrected is the false belief that this was your fault, or your blindness, or your weakness. It was not. It was the natural outcome of who you are meeting, the particular dysfunction of who they were in that season. Their jealousy of you was older than their relationship with you. It was there before the first kind word, before the first act of care. They were jealous of what they saw in you before they ever decided to get close. And then they got close. Not to love you, but to manage you. To keep what threatened them within reach. Because the things we cannot control, we learn to befriend. Read that again. The things we cannot control, we learn to befriend. What they could not diminish from a distance, they came close enough to diminish quietly, from within your life, from within the space of something that looked from the outside like relationship. And my daughter, you are not the only one this has happened to. The servants in Scripture who carried the most anointing were always the ones who attracted the most complicated closeness. The pattern is ancient. You are not alone in it. My daughter, I want you to hear the second layer of what was spoken in that room. Type I know who this is if this is landing in a specific place in you right now, because what I am about to say will not be abstract. It will be precise. Here is the second thing that was said. The jealousy came before the love. I need you to hear this exactly as it was spoken. They said, I noticed her before I liked her. That is what they told the person sitting across from them in that room. They noticed you first, not with warmth. With attention, the kind of attention that calculates, the kind of attention that takes inventory. They saw you before they ever smiled at you, as someone whose inventory needed to be understood. What did she have? How was she getting it? Who gave it to her? Was it transferable? Could it be learned? And underneath all of those questions, the one that drove all the others, why does she have it and I do not? That question, my daughter, is the root of everything that followed. That question is the soil in which the closeness was planted. They were trying to determine whether what you had was something that could be acquired, or whether it was something you were simply born to carry. And when they began to understand that it was the latter, that it was not a skill or a strategy that could be copied, but a quality, a calling, an inheritance that had your name on it and not theirs, the question shifted. It stopped being a question about how to get what you had. It became a question about how to make sure you never fully used it. The book of Isaiah tells us in chapter 54, verse 17, no weapon formed against you shall prosper, and every tongue that rises against you in judgment, you shall condemn. I want you to sit with that verse tonight, not as a general comfort, but as a specific document. The tongue that rose against you in that room was a weapon, not a sword. A different kind. The kind placed inside a person and activated by suggestion. The kind that makes you believe you put it there yourself. And that weapon shall not prosper. The outcome it was aimed at was your diminishment, your stopping, your conclusion. That outcome will not be reached, not because I am intervening at the last minute, but because I have been interceding the entire time. My daughter, there is something I need to tell you about the one who received these words. They heard what was said. They registered it. They did not forget it. And they did not believe all of it. There were things said about you in that room that did not land cleanly, because the person receiving the confession could see something the confessor could not. That what was being said was not a report about who you were. It was a report about what the speaker was afraid of. Truth spoken out loud does not disappear. It waits, and the waiting is almost over. This is a good moment to pause and make sure this word continues to reach you. If you have not yet joined this community, subscribe now and turn on notifications. There is more I have to say to you. There is more record to be read, and the parts that are coming will require you to be here. My daughter, there is a third layer to this confession, and this is the one I have been waiting the longest to tell you. Because this layer is the one that explains the most confusing period of your recent journey. The moments when you were building something real and the ground beneath you seemed to shift. The moments when your energy was rising towards something and it suddenly felt inexplicably heavier. The moments when the belief in you was gaining real traction. And then, almost immediately, something said or suggested by this person seemed to let the air out of what was expanding. Those moments were not coincidences. They were planned. I need you to sit with that word, planned, not casually, not impulsively, with the kind of intentionality that requires a person to observe you long enough to understand your patterns. And this person had observed you long enough. They knew when your momentum was highest. They knew what the rising looked like in you, the specific energy shift, the particular quality of your focus, the way your speech changed when something was working. They watched for it. They cataloged it. And every time they saw the energy rising in you, the belief beginning to move, the dream getting traction, that was the moment they spoke. Not out of nowhere, on purpose. They called it being honest with you. They told the person in the room with them that they were just being real with you, that someone needed to keep you grounded, that it would not serve you to reach too far too fast. That is what they called it. Heaven calls it something else. Heaven calls it the time discouragement. The word placed not in the valley, because in the valley you could identify it as attack, but at the peak of your rising, where it would do the most damage, where it would most effectively interrupt the momentum, where it would be most easily mistaken for wisdom. They were addicted to your struggle, not your suffering, your struggle. There is a difference. Suffering is passive. Struggle is motion. They needed you in motion but never arriving, because every time you almost arrived, something in them that had decided arriving was impossible for them would have to be confronted. Your arrival was the mirror they could not face, so they became an expert at the almost. They became the person who was there for your process, but subtly against your completion. They learned the exact word that would introduce the right amount of doubt at the right moment, and they deployed it with timing that required them to know you well. Type I heard those words right now, because you remember specific things that were said to you at specific moments. You remember the conversations that happened just when something was about to break through. You remember feeling like you had been on the edge of something real, and then, after a conversation with this person, finding yourself 2 steps back from the edge. You attributed it to your own instability. You have been carrying that attribution as a verdict on yourself tonight. I am reversing it. The instability was not yours. It was installed. Psalm 27 verse 2 says, "When evil men advance against me to devour my flesh, when my enemies and my foes attack me, they will stumble and fall." The stumbling is coming, but that is not for you to manage. That is my work. Your work right now is something different. Your work right now is to receive the truth about what was done and to separate yourself from the false belief that what was done was what you were. My daughter, I need to address something else that was said in that room, and this part is about him. You have been confused by the distance, by the uncertainty in him that seemed to appear at a particular time and then deepen in ways you could not trace back to anything you did. You thought the confusion in him was about you, or about him, or about the two of you together. You tried to understand it by examining yourself. You tried to understand it by giving him space, and then by drawing closer, and then by saying less, and then by saying more. None of it resolved the confusion, because the confusion did not originate in him or in you. It was placed there. This person spoke about you to him. Not everything that was said in the room was said to the person who received the full confession. There was another conversation, a different kind, the kind that happens over time, in accumulated suggestions rather than a single statement. The kind that does not announce itself as interference. It announces itself as concern. They spoke to him in the language of care. The way someone who appears to want the best for both of you might gently say things that seem protective, but are actually subtractive. They planted in him specific doubts, not doubt about his feelings, doubt about the timing, doubt about whether who you were in this moment was who you would continue to be, doubt about whether what he saw in you was what you actually were or what you were presenting. That particular doubt, the one about whether you were real, was not his. He did not generate it from his own observation of you. It was suggested to him carefully by someone who needed him to be uncertain because his certainty about you would have been the one thing this person could not manage. What felt like his confusion, his distance, his uncertainty, it was not his. It was installed. And what I want you to know is that what is installed can be uninstalled. What was placed can be removed. The record that I have kept of what was said includes not just what was said about you, but what was said to him on behalf of fear. And that record is being read tonight, not just to you, but into the space between you and him, where the installed doubt has been living, my daughter. I am going to ask you to do something right now, not later. Say this out loud, or if you cannot speak it aloud, say it in the deepest interior place you have. The place that was there before anyone told you who you were. Say, what was planted in me by someone else's jealousy does not belong to me. Say, I return it to the one who planted it. Say, I take back everything that grew from my own soil that was handed to someone else's fear to tend. Say it again. The first time you said it, the roots of something loosened. Not all the way, roots do not release all at once. But the first movement happened. The second time, more. The third time you say it, you will feel, somewhere specific in your body, the particular weight of what they put in, you begin to shift. You have carried it so long you forgot it was not yours. But your body will remember, in this moment, what it felt like before it was there. And that memory is not just a feeling. It is a receipt proof that who you are existed before they spoke. Type I release them now, not because they deserve your release, but because you deserve your freedom. These are not the same thing. You are not releasing them into comfort. You are releasing yourself from the anchor of carrying what was theirs. Their jealousy does not belong in your body. Their timed words do not belong in your mind as your own thoughts. Their confession does not get to live in you as your conclusion about yourself. Let it return to the one who generated it. You are returning, right now, what was never yours, my daughter. Now I am ready to give you the fourth layer. And this is the one that heaven has been waiting longest to release. I want you to understand the weight of what I am about to say. I have been waiting for you to be strong enough to receive it without it breaking you. And you are strong enough now. You are in this moment. You are ready. This is the sentence that stopped heaven. After everything that was said in that room, after the explanation of your threat, after the admission of how the closeness began, after the confession of the time discouragements, there was a final sentence, not said loudly, said the way the truest things are often said, almost quietly, the way something comes out of a person when they have finally let down enough of their guard to tell the real thing underneath all the other things. The person in that room with them heard it, and when they heard it, they understood what had been driving everything they had just been told. And then they said the sentence that I need you to hear, because this is the one that heaven recorded with the most weight. They said, if I cannot have what she has, I do not want her to have it either. That sentence, my daughter, was spoken about you. by someone whose name you know in a room you were never in. And when I heard it, I made a record. And the record has been waiting for this night. This is the root, not the strategic closeness, not the jealousy older than love, not even the timed discouragement. The root is that sentence. Because that sentence reveals the nature of what was underneath everything. It was not simply that they wanted what you had. They could have wanted what you had and done something constructive with that wanting. People do that. They see something in another person that they want, and they let it motivate them, and they grow toward what they were made for. This person did something different. This person, when they fully understood that what you carried could not be taken, could not be copied, could not be diminished into something manageable, chose the other option. If I cannot have it, she should not have it either. Romans 8:31 asks, if God is for us, who can be against us? The person in that room, the sentence they spoke, their strategic management of your rising, all of it, placed on one side of the scale, and on the other side, me, the one who made you, the one who was in the room, the one who kept the record, the one who is reading it back to you tonight. You know which side of that scale has more weight. You have always known tonight. You are allowing yourself to let that answer be true for you personally, not just in principle. That sentence, if I cannot have what she has, I do not want her to have it either, was spoken in a room, and it did not disappear, but it did not go to you. It went back to the one who said it. The confession became its own judgment. Words spoken from jealousy do not arrive at their intended target. They are intercepted, and when they are intercepted, they are held in account, and the account is now being settled. The person who heard their confession in that room has not forgotten what was said. Truth spoken out loud does not disappear. It waits, and what is waiting now is not punishment. What is waiting is the full display of what I have placed in you, the final, undeniable answer to every word spoken about you in rooms you were not in. My daughter, I want to give you 3 signs, not predictions, not promises, signs, specific things to look for in the coming season that will confirm to you that what was spoken about you in that room is being answered. The record is not just being kept, the record is being published. And here is how you will know the first sign. Something this person said about you, a specific thing, a word, a description, a judgment they passed about your character or your capacity or your stability, will be repeated back to you by someone who heard it. Not as gossip. As a moment of clarity, someone will approach you or reach out to you, and they will say something that sounds like this. I heard what they said about you. I want you to know I did not believe it. When that moment comes, you will not need to ask them to elaborate, because you will know immediately which words they are referring to. And in that moment, you will understand something that will heal a particular confusion in you. The record was not only kept in heaven, it was kept in the people who were in that room. In the people who received the confession, the truth about what was said does not stay only with the speaker. It stays in everyone who witnessed it. The second sign, this person will reach out to you during the period of your elevation, not immediately after. When they see the first visible signs of what I am returning to you, the first public movement, the first recognition that cannot be explained away, the first confirmation that what was spoken against you did not arrive at its target, they will reach out. The reach will not be full reconciliation. It will not be apology and full truth-telling and genuine remorse. It will be repositioning. They will want to be close again. They will find a reason, a context, a need, something that justifies reaching out without requiring them to name what they did. Do not be deceived by the reach. The reach is not the signal that they have changed. The reach is the signal that what was spoken in that room is being proved wrong in real time, and they can feel it. When you see the reach, know that you are in the season of elevation, and that the enemy of your rising is attempting to re-establish proximity before what I am doing becomes too large to manage. You do not need to respond with bitterness. You also do not need to respond with openness. Respond with discernment. The reach itself is the sign. The third sign, something you have been carrying as your own, a belief about yourself, a limitation you accepted as fact, A version of your worth that you internalized somewhere along the way and began to treat as your actual dimensions will simply release. Not in a dramatic moment, not in a confrontation or a revelation or a specific conversation. Quietly, on an ordinary day doing an ordinary thing, you will reach for the old smallness, and it will not be there. You will go to access a belief about what you cannot do, or what you are not allowed to want, or how large you are permitted to be, and you will find that the access point is gone. The ceiling they built over you by speaking about you that way, by naming you as a threat rather than as a daughter, by setting the boundary of your reaching in their language rather than in mine, that ceiling will be gone. You will not know exactly when it left. It will not announce its departure. You will only know it is no longer there when you find yourself doing something you had quietly assumed was beyond you, and you feel no resistance. That absence of resistance is the sign, and it is the sign I am most eager for you to receive. Type, "I see the signs." Say it in the comments now, because these signs are not for the future to confirm. They are being confirmed in the present. The loosening has already begun. What I have spoken here tonight was not the beginning of the process. It was the language arriving to describe a process that I have been conducting quietly and persistently from the moment those words were spoken in that room about you. My daughter, I want to speak now about what is coming, not in abstract spiritual language, in the plain, specific, direct language of what your life is about to look like. The words that were spoken about you in that room created a ceiling in your perception, not in your destiny, in your perception of your destiny. There is a significant difference. Your destiny was not altered by a sentence spoken in a room, but your perception of what you were allowed to reach for was influenced. You began to unconsciously edit your own ambition, in the way you talked yourself out of things before they fully formed, in the way you asked permission, not from anyone in particular, but from the air itself before you moved, in the way you sometimes felt, in the moments of your highest reaching, a subtle pull backward that you could not identify. That pull was the ceiling working. The ceiling was built from words, and words, my daughter, can be unmade by words. That is why tonight is happening. I am using the same instrument, the spoken declaration over a life, to dismantle what was built by jealousy and replace it with what was always supposed to be there. You in the full dimension of what I made you, with no edited version of your own wanting, reaching in the full direction of what I placed in you. That is what is coming. Not as reward, as restoration. My daughter, I want to speak now about the one who received the confession in that room. That person is carrying something. They are carrying the weight of having heard what was said and not acted immediately. Perhaps they thought the moment had passed. Perhaps they were uncertain whether you would want to know. The weight of that carried silence has been sitting with them, and in the season that is coming, that weight is going to move. Something will create the conditions for them to speak. When that delivery comes, and it is coming, receive it without drama. Receive it as confirmation rather than wound, because by the time it arrives, this night will have already done the primary healing. Isaiah 54:17 belongs to you in this season. No weapon, no tongue, no confession made in secret about a daughter I hold. None of it prospers. The weapon against you was sent to interrupt your arrival, and I am standing in front of that purpose tonight and telling it that it has not been and will not be completed. Your arrival is not interrupted. It is only delayed, and the delay is not the loss. The delay is the pressure that is producing in you the particular quality of character that will make your arrival sustainable in ways it would not have been had you arrived earlier. There is something about you that this person saw that you have not yet fully seen about yourself. Even they, in their jealousy, in their frustrated recognition, in their private confession, even they saw it, the thing in you that threatened something in them. The thing they could not name admirably, so they named it as threat. They saw something real. Their response was wrong. But the seeing itself was accurate, and if even the one who was against you could see what you carry, then perhaps tonight you can allow yourself to begin to see it too. My daughter, someone came to your heart while you were receiving this word, not by accident. Someone whose face or name moved through your mind in this moment, That person is living right now with the weight of words spoken about them in a room they were never in. They carry something planted in them by someone else's jealousy. They wake up with a confusion that feels like their own and is not their own. They do not yet have the language for what was done. They are in the place you were before tonight, and they need this word. If this message has been a release for you, consider being the one who places this release in someone else's hands. Every act of faith carried in the name of love for another person is recorded in the same place where the record of what was done to you has been kept. Nothing given in faith is forgotten. Not a prayer, not a word shared, not a seed sown on behalf of someone who does not yet know they need the soil. To sow a seed for someone you love, visit the link in the description below, or scan the QR code on screen. My daughter, I want to return now to what happens next. Not to them, to you. You have been asking in the private language of the heart, whether what you lost or what was interrupted in the season of this person's influence can actually be recovered. Whether the time spent building under a ceiling that was someone else's construction, the energy spent in motion that was never quite allowed to arrive, the relationship that was contaminated by an installed confusion, whether any of that can be returned, I want to answer that question directly. Not only can it be returned, it has already been in the process of return since the moment I intercepted that sentence in the room. What was interrupted gathers in the interruption. I make the gap productive. The time you were not arriving was accumulation time. Everything that was supposed to be in the season of your arrival was being held, and it was accumulating. What was meant to be yours at one level of readiness is being returned to you at a higher level because of the delay. The interruption did not reduce what I prepared. It expanded it. They were never controlling the timeline, they only appeared to be. There is a particular restoration that is coming, that will be public in ways you did not originally plan for. What I mean by this is, what was going to be a private accomplishment, known only to those immediately around you, is going to be visible in a wider field than you had originally imagined for this season of your life. The reason is not that I am changing your assignment. The reason is that what was spoken about you in that room had a specific audience, and what I am returning to you will be visible to that audience not as revenge, as answer. There is a difference. Revenge would mean I am working to humiliate the one who spoke against you. I am not. I am working to display you. In the displaying of you, the words spoken against you will simply become obviously, publicly, permanently wrong. That is not my revenge. That is my answer. My daughter, the person whose name you know, the one whose jealousy was older than their love, who managed your rising through time discouragement, who spoke the sentence that stopped heaven. They are watching your life. They have not stopped watching. The person who sees you as a threat cannot stop watching the thing they are threatened by, because watching is how they manage the fear, and what they are going to see in the coming season will do something in them that they did not plan for. They will feel it the moment the first sign becomes visible. The energy of seeing the thing they tried to prevent becoming real anyway is a particular kind of weight. Not my curse on them, the natural consequence of having spoken a sentence in a room and then having to watch the sentence prove itself wrong. They will feel what is sometimes called seller's remorse. The particular grief of having traded something away and then watching its value become apparent. They traded any real relationship with you, traded the possibility of genuine love and mutual rising for the option of management, and they will watch the thing they chose to manage instead of celebrate become exactly the thing they calculated it could be. The morning of that will come, not from my hand. From the simple arithmetic of choices and their outcomes, type it is done because it is. The outcome was set before the sentence was spoken. The return was planned before the delay began. You are not on the losing side of this. You have never been on the losing side of this. There is no version of this story in which what was said alters what was written. There is only this version, in which you are my daughter, and what is mine does not get surrendered to a sentence spoken by someone who could not hold what they were trying to manage. My daughter, I want to speak to the specific shape of the restoration, because you deserve to know not just that it is coming, but what its texture will feel like. The first thing that will return is your voice, the voice that was edited in their presence, that pulled certain ideas back before they fully formed. That voice will return fuller than what you had before, because what has been held back gathers. When it releases, it does not release at the previous level. It releases at the level of everything that was meant to have been said in the seasons of the holding. You will notice it first in small moments. A conversation where you say exactly what you mean without the half-second pause where the editing used to happen. And then larger moments. Rooms where you speak in the full dimension of what you carry without the ceiling, without the presence of the one who needed you to stay within the boundaries of what they could tolerate. Your voice is being restored. The second thing that will return is your reach. You have been reaching in the edited version of yourself. The reaching will expand, not because your circumstances change overnight, but because the ceiling is gone and reaching without a ceiling feels different in the body. Things you reach for will begin to arrive because you are reaching with full extension. The things were not prevented by lack. They were prevented by the ceiling. The ceiling is gone, reach. The third thing that will return is your clarity about him. The installed confusion will clear. The doubt that was placed in him will be seen by him for what it was. Not his own assessment of you, but a suggestion he received and processed as though it were his own discernment. When he sees it, what happens in him will be a form of indignation. The particular recognition of realizing that what he felt about you was interfered with, that the confusion was not native to him. That indignation will move him from the inside, from his own recognition of what was true and what was installed. Watch for that movement when it comes. It will feel different from every other movement toward you. It will feel like someone arriving at a conclusion on their own without being coached into it, because he will be. My daughter, as I close what I need to say to you in this moment, I want to return to the beginning. I was in a room where your name was spoken. I heard every word. I kept every word. I kept it not as evidence against the one who spoke it. I kept it because you needed to know that nothing said about you in your absence goes unwitnessed. There is no room where your name can be spoken where I am not. There is no confession made in a closed space that does not open in my presence. Every word spoken about you in jealousy, in fear, in the language of threat and management. Every one of those words will find its natural answer in what I cause to be visible in your life. You are not unprotected. You have never been unprotected. Protection does not always look like prevention. Sometimes it looks like what tonight looks like. The reading back of what was done so that you can be fully free from it. You could not be fully free from what you did not fully understand. Tonight you understand. And the freedom that comes from understanding is not theoretical. It is structural. Something in the architecture of who you perceive yourself to be has been changed tonight. And you will find in the days ahead that you stand differently in rooms, that you reach differently toward what you were made for. Not because I gave you a motivational moment, but because what was built on false premises, the ceiling, the edited voice, the installed confusion, has been named. And what is named correctly begins to lose its power. Type, I receive this. Let it be the declaration. Let it be the receipt. Let it be the agreement between what was said in that room about you and what I am saying in this moment about you. The two cannot coexist. And what I say has more weight. You are my daughter. Not my child in the general sense, but my daughter in the particular, intimate. You specifically sense the thing in you that they saw and named as threat. I named it first, before they ever noticed you, before you were born, before you had any evidence of it. I named it as gift, as assignment, as what you were made to carry into the world, not for your own comfort, but for the particular atmosphere you are supposed to change. They saw it and called it threat. I saw it and called it purpose. My daughter, there is a woman right now who is living with the weight of words spoken about her in a room she was never in. She thinks the confusion she feels is hers. She thinks the smallness she has accepted is her actual shape. She has been reaching and hitting a ceiling and calling the ceiling the limit of who she is. She does not know it was built by someone else's words. She does not know that what she has been calling her limitation is actually the fingerprint of someone else's fear. Share this with her. What was spoken about her in the dark is being brought into the light here, and she deserves to receive what you are receiving tonight. When you share this, you are not sharing a video. You are placing a name on what has been done to her without her permission. Share it for her. My daughter, as you leave this moment, and return to the ordinary texture of your day. Carry this with you. The record has been read. What was spoken in secret is known. What was planted without your consent is being returned to the one who planted it. What was built over you by language is being dismantled by language. What was interrupted is being returned at a higher level than the interruption occurred at. What was installed in him is being seen for what it was. What was named about you as threat was always named by me as purpose, and the season of the full display of that purpose is not a far horizon. It is the present edge of where you are standing. You are ready. Not because you feel ready. Feelings of readiness are unreliable. You are ready because I have said so. And my word does not return to me empty. The record has been read, my daughter, and the record says, you are exactly who I said you were. Not less, not the managed version, not the edited voice, not the ceiling-reaching version, the full one. And the full one is what you are returning to in this season. If you feel moved to sow a seed in this moment, bring a name with you, the person who came to your heart while you were receiving this word, the one who has been living under a confession that was never made to their face. Bring them into this act of faith. What was spoken about them in the dark deserves to be answered by what you do in this moment of light. Every seed sown in holy ground is recorded in the same place where the record of what was done to you has been kept. Nothing given in faith is forgotten. They deserve to be free from what was planted, and so do you.